Welcome to the channel, guys. Today we're going to be talking about Side Effect by Initio, so stay tuned for that. And if you like the content, guys, hit that like and subscribe button. I really do appreciate it. So today I'm going to be talking about Side Effect by Initio. This is one that's been talked a lot about along with Rehab and Oud for Greatness. And so this is one I definitely wanted to get my nose on to see what all the talk was about. This is a boozy tobacco scent, which is absolutely my favorite category along with gourmand, and so this was one I wanted to get my nose on. I did do a sample of this before I ended up purchasing a bottle, so I did know when I bought this that it was worth the money to me. So let's quickly get into the presentation for this fragrance. Of course, it comes in this nice box with a beautiful purple color, which is actually a sleeve. It is still purple underneath, and this opens up nicely into a nice sort of pedestal that holds the fragrance. I really like the way this display is, and it has a nice smooth sort of velvety surface here. And of course it pulls just out like that. There is back here a card. I found it almost impossible to get this card out, but it does come out and it's nothing too exciting. So here is the actual fragrance itself. Nice purple bottle. One of the things I actually really liked about it is the bottle itself. And of course it says Initio Side Effect on the top of the bottle. And that is the presentation. I like to display it personally just like this. Makes a nice little holder for your shelf or whatever the case may be. The only thing I guess I don't really like about the presentation is that there's a lot of purple Initios, so it's very hard to tell which one you're looking at unless you see the top of the cap. But otherwise, this is a really great presentation. One of the things that really, I guess, drew my attention to the brand in the first place, and one of the reasons why I decided to start with this fragrance, because I do love that purple color. What do I actually get from this fragrance? This fragrance opens up with a bit of a spiciness from cinnamon and quite a bit of booziness from the rum. I get a hint, but not too much, of the tobacco, and I definitely get sweetness from the vanilla. In the opening of this one, I actually do get what I call an orange cola vibe or an orange soda vibe, and that something about the mixture of the elements definitely gives me a little bit of a memory of orange soda. I think it's because I actually used to drink spiced rum and orange soda, and so the cinnamon mixed with the rum does sort of give me this impression of spiced rum and definitely reminds me of those times. So that is definitely something very cool that I like about the opening, that it has this sort of orange soda quality to it, but it is actually quite boozy. Boozy to the point that it is almost aquatic. I don't want to say it's actually full on aquatic, but there's something in the texture of the fragrance. I know that's kind of weird, but I sometimes when I'm smelling things, I get a bit of a texture, especially with different fragrances, and something about the composition gives me a bit of a watery texture to it, which I do actually really enjoy that aspect of it. Now, as this one starts to dry down, I will say it's a little bit linear, but what I get from this is that the booziness tones down a little bit. The tobacco definitely becomes a lot more prominent, and it is definitely present in the opening, but it's not as strong as I find I get during the mid and during the dry down. The cinnamon does stay there a little bit, so it does have a little bit of a spicy vibe, and there is definitely a sweetness there too. It does have an almost marshmallowy kind of quality to it at times, which is nice. And it is a sweet tobacco fragrance in the dry down with a hint of spice. But definitely the booziness is the main player here, and what changes between the opening and the dry down. That tones down while the other notes become a lot more prominent. Now, as far as the performance on this one does actually perform really well. I think that's something you can say about most of the Initio fragrances, especially the ones that I've tried. They are good performers. This one does last a really long time, definitely in that 8 to 10 hour mark, sometimes longer depending, and it also is pretty beast mode. So you don't have to spray tons of this one to get a good amount of projection. Definitely does project quite far off the skin for the first 2-3 hours, and then does tone down a little bit, but certainly not to a skin scent until I mean, definitely when this passes the 8-hour mark, I do find it's definitely much closer to the skin, and I do find it's much more tobacco heavy on that at that point for me anyways. But it is one that performs really well and does last a long time. Now, this is definitely a bit sweeter and a bit thicker, and so it is definitely something that's better suited for the fall and winter, not so much for the spring and summer, although there's definitely still some days right now in the spring that I feel like you could wear this, especially where I am right now, where it's not really hot out right now, so there is a bit of a chill sometimes, and especially in evenings, this could be pretty easy to pull off. So I do think that it is one that is fairly versatile, but I wouldn't really wear it in the heat. It also is a fairly sophisticated fragrance without being overly so. So I think you can wear this one dressed up. I think you can definitely wear it a little bit more casually. It does have a little bit of sensuality there with the mixture of the booziness and the vanilla. So I think this is something that you can definitely wear also for dates if you want. It is reasonably versatile. It's definitely one that I think is great for a going out fragrance. It is definitely one with, I think, a little bit more versatility, so I feel comfortable wearing this in more casual situations as well as going out. And I think because of that boozy tobacco, it's definitely something that can be worn in a more formal situation if you want to. Definitely I could see wearing this with a suit. Now, as far as the sweetness and the interplay with the booziness and the tobacco, I think all of that makes this a fairly unisex fragrance. Pretty sure it is marketed that way, but this doesn't come off excessively masculine at all. In fact, at times, if anything, depending on how sweet it comes off on your skin, this can be a little bit feminine. I personally don't mind at all, but it is something that with that sweetness can sometimes seem a little bit feminine. But personally, I think overall this is a really fantastic fragrance. If you like those boozy tobacco fragrances, this is one that definitely has a little bit of a difference to it. And it's not, I mean, there's a lot of really great like honey tobacco fragrances. Pure Havane kind of has that vibe. Naxos has that vibe. There's a lot of similarity with a lot of tobacco fragrances. But I think this one does stand out a little bit without being completely unique, but it's not also completely the same. So this is a nice fragrance. I really enjoy this one, and I think it is a great boozy tobacco fragrance. And so if you like that genre, I would definitely recommend getting a sample of this one and checking out, seeing if you like it. It does perform well. It's fairly versatile for the type of fragrance that it is. Anyways, guys, that's it for this one. Leave a comment down below. What's your favorite boozy tobacco fragrance? And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.